In the opening scene, we're introduced to Alice, a young girl dealing with adolescent impunities. She attends a Catholic school, and the level at which the students are groomed to be like Jesus is second to none. They can't come to school without belts for males, and the teacher even uses a ruler to measure the female skirts to ensure that it isn't far from the knees. Meanwhile, Alice is confused about these teachings. The school is led by the Catholic Father Murphy. He teaches his students about morality. In class, he is to talk about the male and female genitalia. He lectures them that intercourse is only for marriage and childbearing. It seems it isn't only Alice who has disturbed questions about sexuality, as one of the students asks Father Murphy if it is also a sin if a person has intercourse with himself, that is, to jack off. In response to that question, Father Murphy questions the potential for childbearing, and upon receiving a negative response, he deems it sinful. Curious, Alice feels the need to find out more. She meets with her best friend Laura after the class and asks about her opinion on masturbating as a sin. Laura answers her with certainty, which gets her unconvinced. In the next scene, Alice returns home and goes to chat on an adult website. Although she has no prior intention of doing anything sinful, she receives a message from a user named Hairy Chest, and he asks if she wants to see a private video. He sends her a naked picture of himself and his wife, which she immediately closes, feeling disgusted. Moments later, she decides to scroll through it again due to her curiosity. Her inquisitive nature makes her continue chatting with him, and she lies that she is 22 years old. When he asks her for her private picture, she sends a picture of her friend instead, and they continue having an intimate conversation. When he asks her about whether she is pleasuring herself, she gets confused. So she tries to pleasure herself for the first time, and she enjoys it. Just when she's about to climax, her mother calls her for dinner. During the dinner, she keeps getting several other thoughts about being wet. That weekend, she also attends Laura's party at a sauna. At school, Alice hears several side talks about her and Wade, but she pays no attention until one of her colleagues, Beth, passes beside them at lunch. Laura wonders why Beth didn't attend her party, and Beth talks about how she heard that Alice tossed Wade's salad during the party. Alice doesn't even know what the phrase means, so she ignores it again and starts to lick a cover with chocolate fillings. That's when the nearby guys burst into laughter. Wade also arrives with his girlfriend but feels disgusted and leaves. During the next Mass, the teacher prevents Alice from receiving the Lord's gift due to an unfounded rumor. Filled with guilt, especially from what she had done over the weekend, she decides to go for a confession. She confesses to Father Murphy, who doesn't condemn her, but asks her to pray in the chapel. The next weekend, Alice attends the retreat with Laura, while Laura is excited to meet a popular senior, Nina. Alice's attention is drawn to a senior student, Chris, who has hair all over his body. She fantasizes herself touching his hands and pleasuring himself. Nina and Chris are both group leaders, and Chris is also the star of the school football club. That is also when Nina picks Alice into her group, hence separating her from Laura. She takes Alice to her room and asks Alice to drop her gadget, but Alice drops her wristwatch while keeping her phone. In the next scene, the participants of the retreat are divided into groups, and Alice falls into Chris's group. The meeting starts, and Father Murphy talks about the things teenagers have to deal with. He gives them a paper, asking them to tick any feelings they have felt for the past year on it. Alice hesitates to tick the word "turned on," but she eventually does. She decides to erase it after, but fails, so she cancels it instead. Later on the next activity, the students are to talk about the most difficult time in their lives. Nina talks about how her family always ignored her. They treat her as if she is nothing, and even when her sister has an accident, they accuse her of being the cause. She says that joining the retreat made her feel loved and valued by others. The students then get emotional and go to hug her. That night, as she can't sleep, Alice plays a game on her phone. Afraid to be noticed, she switches it to silent mode. She ends up placing her phone in between her legs while enjoying the sensational feeling the vibrating device is giving her. However, she decides to stop after seeing the crucifix on the wall. The following day, the students are to stand in one circle to sing. Alice gets excited because Chris is beside her, and his hand unintentionally holds her waist. Later on in the woods, all the participants of the retreat meet again. While Laura talks to Alice, she isn't interested because her attention is on Chris. As they walk, Alice sees Chris carrying a student up when she falls and desires the same attention, so she intentionally slips. She pretends as if she can't stand up, so Chris comes to carry her to the health center. She relaxes on his chest and she flies into the world of dreams. She returns to her room and presses her phone. When Nina knocks, she hides the phone, but the phone rings. Nina takes the phone from her and reports her to Father Murphy. As a punishment, she is asked to clean up the school. In the course of her duty, she sees an unused computer in Father Murphy's office. She enters and logs into the adult website anonymously. She asks the people in the chat what it means to toss a person's salad, but she doesn't find an answer to her question. When she hears footsteps, she quickly switches it off and leaves. Turns out that the computer isn't completely switched off. She comes out and meets Nina, who gives her a snack and tells her she isn't pissed. Later, she attends a group meeting where Chris asks them to talk about the most difficult time. One talks about when his girlfriend broke up with him, and another talks about when she lost her grandma. However, Alice has nothing to say, so she lies about when her dog died. During their lunch, Father Murphy comes to talk about the person who browsed illicit pages on his laptop. He asks the person to confess, but nobody responds. While guilt starts filling her, Alice can't bring herself to confess. Before leaving, Father Murphy leaves them with his words that God sees them. Later, the students are called for a private counseling session with Father Murphy. When it is Alice's turn, he asks her about her relationship with God, which she says is good, and also asks about being turned on. He wants to know if she really tossed Wade's salad, but she claims she doesn't even know what it means. While serving her punishment, Wade teases her by throwing trash on the floor. She confronts him about being mean to her, but he doesn't respond. Before things start to escalate, Father Murphy arrives and takes Wade away. When Alice sweeps the trash, she sees Wade mistakenly dropped his bracelet, so she decides to keep it. Alice continues her duty, and outside the window she sees Nina kissing another boy, Adam, and she proceeds to satisfy him down there. Alice feels turned on and uses the broomstick to pleasure herself. She immediately goes to give her best friend the gist, but Laura can't believe that her model, Nina, can do such. She accuses Alice of craving attention and accuses her of having an affair with Wade. And she was also the one who browsed illicit pictures on Father Murphy's laptop. Angrily, Alice decides to set Wade up by putting his bracelet beside the laptop. As she does sit, Father Murphy enters, so she quickly hides. While hiding, she witnesses Father Murphy watching an adult video and masturbating on it. Disgusted, she hides again and closes her eyes. She gets irritated and leaves. Later, she meets Chris, who wonders if she is well. Alice forcefully kisses him, but the latter gets shocked and quickly leaves. At night, while the students are singing happily, Alice feels emotional and walks away from camp. She eventually finds herself outside a bar, and she enters. Depressed, she asks for alcohol. The lady next to her strikes up a conversation, deducing her school from her attire, and shares her own experience at a similar Catholic school before moving on. She offers Alice a lift to school and suggests that she consider colleges on the East or West Coast for greater freedom. Before leaving, Alice asks the lady what it means to toss a person's salad, and the lady tells her it is licking a person's butthole. She smiles, although she still didn't get it. Later at the dining hall, Father Murphy comes to call Wade, and later Laura comes to meet Alice, apologizing for her earlier statements. She tells Alice that she found out Wade was the one who watched the video, and it also means Wade was the one who spread rumors about Alice and himself to conceal the fact that he's gay. According to Laura, Father Murphy had found out the pages Wade assessed, and the chat showed he was gay. Father Murphy comes with Wade, who gives a speech apologizing to his fellow students. After the speech, they ask if any other person wants to talk, and Alice goes to talk. She advises her fellow students to embrace who they are, because everyone has something to hide, so they shouldn't be ashamed. Upon getting home, she starts looking for schools on the East and West Coasts. At school, she apologizes to Chris and promises they can be friends. She also confesses to Father Murphy, where she talks about watching an adult video. She explains the video, and Father Murphy figures it is his video. When Alice asks if God will forgive her, Father Murphy realizes she is referring to him and decides not to talk more about it. Alice returns home to watch her favorite explicit scene in the Titanic movie. As she is preparing to pleasure herself, she notices a dildo which probably belongs to her mother. She decides to use it regardless, and the movie ends. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a like to help the channel out, also leave a comment if you'd like us to recap your favorite movie. Thanks for watching.